everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. Today I'm creating a scrapbook layout for Bramble Fox. I will be using a mix of perspectives I received in my Fox box. I have this fun photo and I'm going to be recording a memory of my daughter and her fiance while they were dating. I chose to use this sweet title perspective that says you plus me. I've also gathered a few chevrons and some arrows that I want to use on my project and some paper snips from my Fox box. I love adding little phrases and words like this on my pages, and paper snips are ideal for doing that. I have already created a background for my page with an alphabet type paper that's been framed in black cardstock. When I create frames around my page, I try to match the photo so that it draws your eye to that focal point. That busy background is taking away from the photo, so I want to add a muted pattern to the center of the page. This is a red and blue striped paper with a gray distress background, and it really helps to bring out that photo. Behind the photo, I'm going to add some strips of paper. I'm going to be using up some scraps from a previous project, so I have cut 2 of the strips to the width that I need, and I'm going to tuck these behind the photo. The photo is going to end up hiding that gap, so you won't even know that I've used up some paper scraps. I am going to be adding some floral die cuts to the right side of the page, and I feel like I need some floral patterns on the left to balance them out. This floral strip is also going to bring another pattern to this layout, and it softens some of the harsh lines that the other papers have. Now I'm going to go off camera and adhere some of this down, and I want to add a little bit of stitching to the layout, and then I'm going to start adding some embellishments to the page. So I went ahead and added some stitching around the striped patterned paper to create a bit of a frame. I've also added some stitching along the edge here on the floral pattern paper. I love the texture that stitching brings to a page. Behind my photo, I want to add this grid cutout. This was a free SVG from the SCT website. It brings some blue to the page and it helps separate my photo from the background paper. I'm going to place some foam tape on the back of my photo and secure this in place. Now I'm going to start adding some embellishments. I want the You plus Me title to sit on the right side of the photo, and I really want it to stand out. So I've gone ahead and cut out a dark blue patterned paper using a bracket die that I had in my collection. It does have some stitching around it, which matches some of the other stitching on the page. And I'm going to place it here in the corner of the photo using some foam tape. I like to use micro glue dots when I adhere my perspectives in place. These are a little more forgiving than liquid adhesive. If I end up changing my mind, I can move the perspective, and I don't need to wait for the glue dots to dry. I really like how that title stands out on the dark blue, and it starts to create a nice diagonal flow across the layout. Behind my title, I'm going to place some flower die cuts that came with the paper kit. These are going to sit behind the corners of the title. Now I want to create a visual triangle, so I'm also going to add some floral at the top of the page behind the left top corner of my photo. Around that You plus Me title, I want to create a little embellishment cluster. So I've grabbed this little library card here that says Our Story and a little flag. I'm going to grab some foam tape and adhere all of these pieces down. So at this point, I have quite a few vertical elements on the page. So I'm going to add this dark blue phrase that says, "This will make a great story one day." Now you can tell by this photo that these two have quite the spunky personalities. They are perfect for each other, so this little phrase fits the layout really well. Now that all of my large embellishments are in place, I want to add a little bit more dimension around that title. I've gone ahead and cut some daisies using a Spellbinders die, and they've been cut from a light gray cardstock, which matches the other grays in the papers. In the centers of the daisies, I'm adding a black center, and this is going to bring some black accents to the right side of the layout. Adding three-dimensional flowers on top of printed floral die cuts gives your page some contrast and texture. Not only are these daisies going to pair well with the other floral elements, they're also going to help frame my title and just bring some nice dimension to the layout. I am going to move these flowers around a little bit, and I'm going to be playing with the amount of foam tape I want to add. I don't want to take away from any of the other elements on the page, but I do want to make these flower clusters look like they are part of the floral elements on the layout. Now that I've added some flowers at the base of the page, I need to add a few to the top. Once I added them, I felt like the layout was a little bottom heavy and off balance. I needed a little something else at the top of the page, but I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to add. While I thought about it, I did add a couple of chevrons to the lower right side of the layout. These chevrons are creating another horizontal line on the page, and they're creating a nice stopping point to that diagonal flow that I have going across the layout. So I've decided that I want to add a word up here on a tab. So I've gone ahead and moved the flowers out of the way, and I'm cutting out the word documented from the paper snips. I've cut a tab from pattern paper. This is the same pattern paper that I used behind the title, and that'll bring some more of the dark blue to the layout. I'm going to wrap a little bit of sewing thread around this tab. On the back side of the tab, I do have some double stick tape, and that's helping me to hold this wrapped thread in place. This tab is going to be tucked above the photo. Now I'm going to glue that little documented page snip onto the tab. I am going to tuck it behind the thread here. I probably should have thought about this before the thread was in place, but it all worked out just fine. I am going to bring back those flowers that I removed, and I'm going to place them behind the tab. I feel like this brings a little bit more balance to the design. Looking at this corner, I feel like it needs a few more florals. I have one die cut left, but I only want to use the portion with the leaves behind my photo. Instead of hiding the rest of the image, I'm going to cut this into two pieces and tuck this portion in the corner. Now I have the other flower here, which I could save for another project, but knowing me, I will find it a year later and forget why I kept it. Instead of stowing it away, I'm going to tuck it behind the grid cutout. So I'm looking down at the two little chevrons, and my brain is telling me that I need a third, because when we create, we always try to create in threes. I did try to find another location on the layout for the chevron, but it does work much better with the other two to create a nice continuous line. It does extend that horizontal line, and it creates this nice flow on the page. Now I had plans to use those black arrows, but I really think I don't need anything else. This layout is such a beautiful page that shows the fun side of this relationship. The simple colors, vintage type, and clusters of floral elements pair well with the You Plus Me title and the gray chevrons, while still keeping the photo as the focus of the page. I love that that little documented page snip brought some balance to the layout. Word bits like this are such a great addition to any project. I'm going to share some close-up photos of this layout so that you can see all the great details on the page. I want to thank you for joining me today as I created this scrapbook page. I hope that this project inspired you to record a few you and me memories of your own. If you have any questions about the supplies I used or this project, feel free to post those in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you are notified when I add another video. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.